Homeschooling for kiddos using Christian Light education can get tricky. With all the teacher's manuals, light units, and flashcards, plus not all my kiddos are doing the same level, and even with the ones on the same level, how do I get everyone done at the same time? In today's video, I'm sharing how I stay organized with CLE. Tips that have made all the difference for my family and could help you homeschool with less stress, more focus, and better results. The first tip that has saved me so much time is using tabs in my teacher's manual to track progress. Instead of flipping back and forth, trying to remember where we left off, I use tabs to quickly find the right section. It makes transitions smoother and it helps me stay on top of things without feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. So practically, this is exactly how I do it. I color code my tabs based on the student because I have one child who is slightly ahead of the others, and I make notes of important lessons or sections that I want to come back to or that I felt like they didn't really grasp and I want to go back and reinforce it. There are many times when there are little tips or tricks that I know I am going to forget, so I mark them so I can find them when I need them. This small adjustment helps me jump right into teaching, especially when juggling multiple kids. Having a system in place has really allowed me to be more flexible during our homeschooling days. With multiple kids, it's critical to have independent work ready. I highlight the sections my kids can work on alone so they can stay productive while I focus on another child. This way, everyone stays engaged and I'm not stretched too thin. I always try to make sure there's plenty of independent work or an activity available to them so that they are not stuck waiting on me for too long, which allows me to do one-on-one time with someone else or change a diaper or whatever the situation may be. I find that when there's idle time, that is when I lose them a lot of the times. And so if they have something that they're supposed to be doing, when something comes up, like I can see that a student is struggling, or I notice that a student is not making their E correctly, and so I want them to erase it and do it again, I can say, hey, go on to your I can do it section for a bit. Let me work with this child for a second, and I can take that one-on-one time and attention for that specific child. This small change has really helped keep things running smoothly, even on the busiest days. Now, rather than introducing sight words lesson by lesson, I go over all of them at the beginning of the light unit. This gives my kids time to get familiar with the words at their own pace, reducing frustration and increasing repetition. I even created a video of me saying the sight words and showing them on the screen, and my kids can watch the video independently every single day. This flexibility has been a game changer, especially when it comes to managing frustration during lessons, because in a lot of ways it gives them a heads up because it is not the first time that they are seeing these words, and so they're familiar with it and they get a sense of confidence. So for certain students, instead of requiring them to finish an entire lesson every single day, I set a 20-minute timer for certain subjects. If they're getting frustrated, we simply stop when the timer goes off and pick up where we left off the next day. It keeps them from feeling overwhelmed while ensuring progress is still being made every single day. So practically how that looks is we open up our math and set the timer to stop at 20 minutes. Once it stops, we get some water or play or just take a deep breath. We close it. We're for 5-10 minutes. Then we open up our language arts books, we set the 20-minute timer, and we do the same thing. We take a break, 5 minutes, stretch your legs, whatever the situation is. We do the same thing for reading, and then the next day we just pick up where we left off and we do it again. I try to stick with the same schedule at the front of the teacher's manual because there is a rhyme and a reason for what lessons go together per different light unit. So if in 20 minutes we finish lesson 5 in the reading book, which coincides with lesson 115 in the math book, but we are still not done with that lesson in the math book, then I will not do the next lesson of the reading book the next day. Until we are done with that math lesson, we're not ready to move with any of the other subjects. Having these time boundaries in place has made such a difference in keeping the day flowing without feeling overwhelmed. Each child has their own set of CLE materials, and I keep everything organized in one place. That way we aren't wasting time searching for books or supplies. Everything is ready to go, making transition from one subject to the next seamless. I use labeled bins to keep each child's material together, and I make sure we tidy up at the end of the day so everything's ready to go for tomorrow. When it comes to the light units that we are not currently using, I keep them in a magazine holder labeled per child. The teacher's manuals are kept on my 3-wheeled cart in a magazine holder that is a little bit more open, and I find it best to be kept right next to me so that I can have it handy and ready to go. I also keep the current unit's flashcards displayed on the board. This kind of organization helps our homeschool run more efficiently and keeps our materials in order. Another organizational strategy I use with CLE is keeping track of where my kids are struggling so I can easily find ways to reinforce those areas, whether it's through a game, an educational video, or simply extra practice time. I make sure to address those struggles. I keep a simple list in my planner for each child where I jot down any areas they're having trouble with. Then I plan reinforcement activities like finding a math game to strengthen their skills, or setting aside time to watch a video related to that blend. Preschool prep is really good for that. This way they get the extra help that they need. By tracking these struggles and addressing them promptly, I can make sure that my kids are solid in their understanding before we move on, making their learning a lot smoother and a lot less rushed. So to help my kids build their reading skills, I have them read their CLE reading list and their primer to family members, either in person like one of their siblings, or over the phone like to my mother. Not only does this give them extra practice, but it also helps strengthen that like family bond. My mom loves to listen to them read stories. This works great if you've got extended family who live far away. It keeps the kids excited about reading, and it makes it feel more like an adventure and less like just another task. Most importantly though is the consistency. CLE is a spiral/mastery approach to learning. Things are repeated often, so consistency is vital. But what if you struggle with consistency? Watch my next video where I share 3 secrets to maintaining a consistent routine and ensuring a long-term homeschool success.